Good evening, and welcome to the Burbank Police Commission meeting for Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. I'm going to read this twice, but I'll read it the first time now. For public comment options, to speak during public comment, members of the public may speak for 3 minutes in person in the council chamber, or they may call 818-238-3335, 818-238-3335. Members of the public who attend the meeting in the chamber will speak first, followed by those phoning in their comments. And Ms. Nakamura, we're calling the meeting to order, and if you can conduct the roll call, please.
Commissioner Chapman? Here. Chair Coons?
Here.
Commissioner Elman?
Here.
Commissioner Feruzin?
Here.
Commissioner Hakobian?
Present.
Commissioner McKenna?
Present.
And Commissioner Wenzel?
Present.
Thank you. And this is, we had a new selection of commissioners last night, and so this is actually Layla Feruzin's last meeting with us because she has opted not to renew. So we've got her for one last evening, so we're going to get everything we can out of her, starting with the flag salute. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and thank you, Layla. So we're going to move on to item C, which is commission announcements and reporting out by commissioners and ad hoc subcommittees. This is for brief announcements by commissioners and brief reports regarding activities of ad hoc subcommittees. Ann, can we start with you?
Here we go. I did attend the Scoop Out night at Foster's Freeze on June 21st, and it was pretty well attended, and that was good. I also took up my interest in terms of social media, and I know I can't do a report, but I started looking at how other police departments here, there, let information out. And that's something I would love to continue to work on, however we need to
Please
do
do.
that.
Please do. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Ann. Mike?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Layla?
Yeah, I'd just say that I know we have a discussion around the school traffic safety in particular tonight, and that's great because I have been, just talked with a couple parents about some schools traffic safety issues this last month, and also, it even happens in the summer, right? Because we do have camps at some of the local schools, which is great that we are able to serve that purpose for the community too. But, yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Two things for me. I participated in the department's CALEA certification process last week. This is the California Association of Law Enforcement Agencies. Did I get that right? Excellent. And there's a certification process that takes place periodically, so I was able to participate as a community member for that. And then also, last night, I'm happy to report that even though Layla's stepping off, I am happy to report that myself, Paul, and Romick attended two of us attended the city council meeting last night, and all three of us were reappointed for another term. And we also have in the audience the newest appointee to the police commission. It is Narbe Hartunian. Did I say that right? Correct. Excellent. So we're looking forward to you joining us in the next meeting. So thank you for being here tonight. Mike?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Paul?
Well, we did have meetings set up with the superintendent. Obviously, things have changed in that area, but we made an effort on social media today to get the word out. We've had a lot of people that have asked us about changes and things they wanted for school safety, and we're going to discuss that tonight. I hope some people are at the very least watching or ready to call in. Thank you.
Great. Romick?
Thank you, Chair Coons. First and foremost, congratulations to our new police commissioner, Narbe Hartunian, for coming on board. Looking forward to the important work we'll do together. And also on Thursday, June 26th, we held the Drive Right, Save Life workshop at the Boys and Girls Club. And there was a topic on Let's Talk Driving. We had probably about over 40 attendees, and the event was engaging, and it was wonderful. We had Q&A with Glendale PD and also Burbank PD, and obviously special thank you to Burbank Police Department's Lieutenant Jeffrey Barkis for being there for the presentation with Ryan Rhodes, and it was wonderful having Glendale PD Officer Lieutenant Peter Robinson and Officer David Coe there, and we're excited to continue this mission. So we're having upcoming conversations with collaboration with the Burbank Unified School District and West Coast Customs. Thank you, guys.
And that seemed like it was so long ago, I forgot that I was there as well. So that was.
You were there.
And Mike,
You
and Mike
two
Ellman,
were there.
And Mike
You
Ellman
both
was
were
there
there.
as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you did have something to report out. But we both did the same thing.
I'm old, I have an excuse for sure.
All right, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Okay, so with that, we're going to be moving on to item D, which is oral communications. Again, for public comment options, to speak during public comment, members of the public may speak for 3 minutes in person in the council chamber, or they may call 818-238-3335. Members of the public who attend the meeting in chamber will speak first, followed by those phoning in their comments. Do we have any public speakers here? No public speakers here. Do we have any public speakers or comment speakers on the phone?
No calls pending.
Okay, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and move on to item E, commission response to public comments. This is an opportunity, if any of you received email correspondence over the course of the last month, it's an opportunity to respond both to the public comments that didn't happen here, but also in case you received any emails. Ann?
Would that include chatting with a neighbor?
Would that include chatting with a neighbor? Sure. Right? Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. No, I was chatting with a neighbor and I kind of asked, what bugs you the most? What are your concerns in terms of crime? I was specific. And we were talking about that. And of course, going to Empire Center came up. They still go. But the other thing is that I asked them also about what kind of information, being on my social media kick, what kind of information do you like to hear about? And they really enjoy hearing about crime being busted.
Okay.
Like when something's on Facebook and it refers to how the Burbank Police Department participated in, say, a major arrest or a crime bust, that they like. That's all I've got.
Thank you, appreciate that. Any other emails that folks, or communication that folks wanted to respond to? We're good? All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to item F, which is the approval of minutes from the June 18th, 2025 meeting. Hopefully folks have had a chance to review that. I have a motion from Mike Ellman to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll
From
second.
Roma Kakobian. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? All right. Oh, we have one abstention. We have one abstention with Leila, and they pass. Thank you for that. Okay, we're moving on to item G, items of business. The first presentation that we have is tonight. It's a presentation, discussion, and recommendations, if applicable, on the preparations to address traffic safety and parking for the start of the school year. And we have Lieutenant Jeff Barkus with us. Lieutenant Barkus, welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Coombs, Commissioners. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I am going to give a presentation on school safety here. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Sherry?
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right, my name's Lieutenant Jeff Barkus. I'm currently the lieutenant over our traffic bureau. And in case you forgot, I'm Lieutenant Jeff Barkus for the traffic bureau. To start off with it, the beginning of the school instructional calendar, school this year will begin on Wednesday, August 13th, followed by two breaks for winter between December 22nd and January 2nd, and the spring recess, which is in March, from March 16th to March 20th, and the last day of school being May 28th of 2026. I'm sure you guys have all seen these before, but these are some of the schools that we have throughout the community. We have 11 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, and 3 high schools, 2 main being Burbank High School and John Burroughs. Also the alternative schools being the adult school and Horace Mann, and then some of our private schools as well, mostly attached to churches. So some of our responsibilities when the school year starts is, prior to the school year starting, we'll get together with our traffic bureau and discuss some of the efforts that we want to do to ensure safety within the schools, especially during the first couple weeks. During the first couple weeks, we always have our motor officers. They're assigned each to schools. Their main objective is to contact school personnel, hopefully the principal, but sometimes most schools have a designated staff member that'll be outside as people are arriving, just to kind of keep eyes as students are getting dropped off. And our main goal with that is just to discuss over the summer break. Sometimes things change in the neighborhood, construction or new businesses. Hopefully they didn't put a new Raising Cane's in front of a school, because that would cause us some issues too. But we address those with everybody, how the school attendance is looking, and try to come up with a game plan just to kind of help each and every school individually, as they all, depending on the neighborhood they're in, streets that they're on, have different issues with their traffic and parking unique to that school. Let's see. Part of that first 2 weeks, when we really try to have our motor officers deployed at the schools during drop-off and pickup, is to obviously just to educate the public, talk with the parents, talk with some of the students that are out there walking to and from. And obviously that's when we're going to see the most violations, especially as school starts. People seem to be a little bit more in a hurry and off to work. So it gives us a chance to talk and interact with the community and just kind of issue not even issue, but just have a conversation with them to educate them, warnings and whatnot. After about 2 weeks, and like I said, each school can be different depending on the specific concerns that they're having. But after about 2 to 3 weeks, we'll transition from an educational approach into more of an enforcement if it's necessary. One thing that we're going to add, though, this year that we did not have in prior years is we're going to include our contract parking control, which is LAS. They're going to be out at the schools as well during pickup and drop-off, which is when we have most of these issues. And most of the complaints I've received since I've been in traffic has been for the pickup, because that's usually when the parents get there anywhere from an hour to a half hour early, and they start blocking driveways, alleyways, and whatnot. So we will have our LAS parking control out there to also educate, but issue any type of parking citations if there's any issues that need to be addressed. Also this year, we were approved to hire 2 community service officers. One of them just started this week, and we're getting her onboarded, and we should have another one hopefully ready to go by the time the school year starts. And they too will be out in the field, rotating amongst the schools during drop-off and pickup times, specifically to help with traffic enforcement and just keeping traffic flowing. One thing that we've noticed is the more uniformed personnel, the more cars that they see that say police on them, people tend to follow the rules. As that goes on throughout the school year and we're not as present, or if something's going on and our officers are pulled away for something else, is when we tend to see people start recommitting violations. But the nice thing will be between the multiple LAS parking enforcement and our community service officers and our traffic officers is we'll have a good amount of people out there to hopefully keep traffic moving and keep the students and parents safe as they drop their children off at school. So when we speak with the schools and we try to develop a plan, these are some of the things that we talk about, and it's reviewing of the current drop-off and pickup procedures. That's generally done when we speak with the school staff and see what's moving. And like I said before, depending on how things have changed over the years, we try to evaluate on a yearly basis of contacting and seeing what worked last year and what could we try this year to hopefully get a better response and keep that traffic moving. Speaking with the students and the parents as well to see what some of their issues are. We have a really good flow of information when people are complaining, especially that live in the neighborhood, so we know what the complaints are, but sometimes it's talking to the parents, because the person who lives in front of the school may not see that there was constructions 2 blocks away, so this person had to take a different street than they normally would, and that's why we're seeing so many people go through that way. And that, with issues like that, we can that's where we can work with our traffic folks to hopefully find better routes and to improve on the drop-off locations at these schools. Separate modes of travel and designated school entry points. The other thing that we have, and it's actually dwindling over the years, is it does seem that mostly parents are driving their kids to school specifically to get them to the very front, as opposed to in the past where we saw a lot more kids on bikes, although now we're probably going to see a lot more kids on e-bikes, and that's a whole nother presentation that we can get into at another time. But between that, and then also the different entry points of the school. A lot of times the schools will sometimes open side gates to alleviate traffic in the front to create a better flow of students getting into the school and hopefully ease up on the more obvious front of the school drop-off. And then we do go over a map with the schools when the officers meet with them, just to verify what they're using for their potential valet system that they're using, to see once again if there's other ways that we can improve the flow of traffic. We do create a communications plan, which we've already spoke about, and it's been the same one that's modified usually every year depending on different situations. And then reinforcing with education and enforcement of the laws pertaining to the parents that are dropping their students off. This is just an example, and it works on the on focus of pulling forward as far as possible, only turning right, in and out of the lots, cell phones not being allowed, unloading on the right side of the car and staying in your car. And this is just a general one, and I'll show you one here in a minute that we actually did it for one of our schools. But a lot of times what you'll see is parents, pulling they'll come in on the opposite side of this in front of the school and to drop kids off, and then we have a whole nother problem when we're having to have kids start crossing the street and they're not using the designated crosswalks, where at our elementary schools that we have the crossing guards at to help with movement as well. As you can see here, this is John Muir, and this would be a typical type of plan we go over with the school. As you can see him coming up on Bethany and only trying to commit right turns, so hopefully we can commit the parents to staying on the right side of the road, keeping moving until they get to the front of the school, and keeping those lanes of traffic open without people stopping. And that's the main thing that the parking control and the officers are going to be doing out there is, it's not so much enforcement, and it's just, a lot of times it's just keeping people moving. People, they're in a hurry and everybody's important, and we just got to tell them that everyone's got to get to school. So we try to keep them moving. And like I said, when there's a police officer there or a community service officer, any type of enforcement officer, they tend to see that and keep moving. But that's just an example there, going southbound on Kenneth Road and then making a right-hand turn onto Walnut to exit, or even continuing straight down Kenneth to another location just to disperse traffic a little bit quicker and easier. So this is kind of goes over what I spoke about before, is when we do meet with the schools and we go over the maps that we've previously discussed with them, and then we just try to look back on the year before about what worked well, what has changed, and if there is anywhere that we can make improvements. I'm hoping this year with the extra personnel, that just seems to be the number one answer to most of the problems, is just having people out there. And a lot of times, I know we've had issues with staffing, and it makes things a little difficult, but I'm excited this year to have more people out there, so I'm hoping that deters a lot of the problems that we face. This just goes over the school valet program, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. But obviously what it's intended to do is just create a more orderly fashion for and movement for traffic to keep moving and not stop in front of the schools, directs drivers through a queue of cones. Depending on the school, obviously for something like Burbank High School, where it's right in front, Burbank High School on 3rd Street, we don't have the room to set up cone patterns, but if you were to go, say, to Washington Elementary School, there we have more options on the side of the school to set up some cones and kind of just guide people in there, because they're not on a major thoroughfare and they're off to the side. School volunteers assist students with safely exiting vehicles adjacent to the sidewalk. Volunteers are generally students that are helping out, usually 6th grade for elementary, and or 5th grade, I'm sorry, helping out with getting the kids out of the school or out of the car and moving traffic quickly. Directs vehicles to a specific area, so hopefully they don't wander off, as I was saying, and stopping on the opposite side of the street to drop their kids off, causing traffic issues with pedestrians. And then providing training for the school. This was covered a lot when we started introducing the program. Most of the schools have their own program. Like I said, each school is different. We don't have a standardized program for one school or a certain way to do things, but we'll offer our best advice to keep things moving and try to accommodate them to their requests as well. These are always going to be some of the problems that we face at the schools. And it's going to be the parking in the red zones, stopping in the actual valet zones. This one's big when I was speaking about Burbank High School. It's the double parking, because we have parking that's allowed in the front, but everyone wants to stop in the bike lane and stop even further out, which causes traffic to back up on 3rd Street. So that's the goal of having officers out in these areas too, is just to keep the traffic moving, because some of those locations were unable to set up an actual valet. Stopping in traffic lanes, unloading in traffic lanes, stop sign violations, that's a big one, and that's one that we really try to focus on. And that's where we get a lot of feedback from our crossing guards as far as some of the stuff that they're observing. They're kind of our eyes out there, because they're there for 2 hours, 2.5 hours in the morning, and then they'll come back at the pickup time and they're out there. So we speak with them during the year and see what they're specifically dealing with, and then we can have a better approach of deploying our resources in a timely manner. Instead of being up there for hours, they can be up there a specific time to respond to what those needs are, or specific people individually. Sometimes they point out certain cars that they're having continual problems with. So we're able to address those issues. U-turns from the curb, crossing double yellow lines, of course using the cell phone, and failing to obey our crossing guards. The focus on school traffic safety is to work with the stakeholders on school safety issues at the campuses, and those stakeholders being us, the school itself, the administration and some of the teachers, but also speaking with the residents, like I said, nearby. It's important to get to hear their side of it too, because it's not always just the traffic. Sometimes it's, I'm having, this particular car's coming and they're always dropping trash off in front of my house, or what have you, but everyone has their own concern, and it helps us address those issues by talking to everybody. It improves the school valet programs. Obviously, like I said, we've gone over that, and we try to improve that every year, looking back on the years prior of what has worked and what hasn't worked. Implementing those changes, trying to reinforce desired behavior and dissuade problematic behavior. Education and enforcement plays a crucial role, and a lot of the parents that we come into contact with definitely respond a lot better to speaking with them and just educating them. Sometimes people they don't know that they don't know that they can't stop in a loading zone. It's not as obvious as a red curb, or just talking to them, and sometimes they get frustrated with our crossing guards, but then we talk to them and say, they're letting a lot of traffic go through and having the kids wait so they can have them come through at one point. And a lot of times that little bit of understanding and just communication makes the biggest difference. But then so does the enforcement when we unfortunately have to do that. But people tend to remember when they get a ticket, and they're usually not happy. The traffic safety education that we do with the high school, it's done with 9th graders. That number is going to fluctuate obviously every year just depending on the school attendance. But it's the officers will go out and give a presentation kind of similar to what we did with Commissioner Hakobian, and just talk with the kids to educate them. I was saying we probably should switch to about a 30-second video, because that's about the attention span of kids now with TikTok. But it usually goes for about a class. They'll get in there on one of their health classes and get to give a little talk about safety. And I think what's good with us with that and talking to the kids is it's kind of humanizing the badge. It gives us a chance to talk to the kids and say, when we spoke at the Boys and Girls Club, it's you tell these kids we don't like to write tickets, but now as a lot of us, as we age too, and we see our own kids in them, and the worst calls that we go to are injured children. And our main point is to just help facilitate you safely getting to and from school. And we have a positive response on that. We do, and then some of the stuff that we do go over, distracted driving, obviously, impaired driving. It's important for them to hear that. It's not 0.08, it's 0. So you have anything that's going to put you under the influence, you shall not drive. And then going over speeding and reckless driving. When you have 16-year-olds driving a car for the first time, they tend to speed. I'm sure we all did at some point. But hearing that, and like I said, talking with the kids and humanizing the badge has a big effect. that concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you for that. I want to thank you for the presentation. I want to advise our commissioners that whenever there's a discussion of speeding, if you gasp, you're kind of like letting you're kind of calling yourself out, so don't do that. I want to thank Paul and Layla and Romik for bringing this. All four of you have been actively involved in various aspects related to traffic safety around schools, pedestrian safety, working with the schools. With that, Paul, I'd like to turn it over to you if you want to start with any questions that you have.
Well, I'd like to first say, thank you very much, Lieutenant. Yeah, I've done most of my ride-alongs at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning for this reason. And a couple things that I've noticed is, one, the corner of Third and Harvard, that used to be a real tough corner. People parking there, and even with the siren behind them, people didn't move. I see there's pylons there. So I'm really nice to see that we're doing things, active things to help people comply.
Right.
You made a comment about school staff. The difficulty of that, though, is people know they have no authority. And frankly, if it's not your child's teacher, the conduct can be less than gentlemanly or ladylike if they're told what to do. I know, for instance, Clark and Mariposa, it's like 10 feet to the crosswalk. But parents, if they think that if they're with the kid, they can jaywalk and set that bad example. And I think the crossing guard does a great job of being visible.
Right.
But again, it's the difficulty comes down to the people's interpretation of their authority. I think that the LAS participating in the pickup time is great, because you're exactly right. Everybody's sitting there waiting and nobody's moving.
Right.
And I think that's the only way we're gonna get enforcement. I also appreciate the fact that you so many times mentioned humanizing the badge. And with that in mind, I will point out that on October 11th, we will have another bicycle helmet giveaway. And one of the reasons why it's so important to me that the police officers help with that is that it gives the child a positive moment with someone wearing a badge.
Right.
So thank you very much for your report.
Yes, sir.
Paul, thank you for that. I'm going to open up to other comments and questions that folks have. Mike, go ahead.
I realize your report is on preparations, but I'm wondering, do we keep any kind of records of any accidents involving either cars or pedestrians that are related to the school?
We do. It's difficult for some of the tracking. It's difficult for some of the tracking because some of the incidents don't necessarily happen right around the schools. Sometimes, if we try to get an accurate feel for how many violations we're having for speeding or for stop signs, unless they get stopped right at the location, sometimes it's hard to track some of that data because they don't actually get stopped for several blocks away. Sometimes the accidents are related to the school, but they're not happening right at the immediate area of the school. But we do keep track of that. As of last year, we didn't have any major accidents involving students.
Either way, vehicles or pedestrians.
Correct.
I was thinking of that in maybe in terms of being able to compare the success of one year to another of the plans that we've made for routing traffic and students. But it sounds like it's been pretty successful, but I'm not sure. Again, it seems like, how would you judge if it's working?
When traffic's flowing, I don't get any phone calls in my office. Like I said, it's a trial and error. Putting some of the delineators around certain corners where cars were backing up. We could try that, and it may work. And then we may find out next year when we talk to the teachers or some of the administrators. They go, that caused more problems than it did than it solved any. Mm-hmm. So we'll adjust and we'll modify it. It's as life changes, so does the traffic problems, and every year it's going to be a different challenge. I have a feeling in the upcoming years it's going to be a challenge with monitoring some of the e-bikes coming to school. So we don't have an issue with that right now, but it's probably going to be one in the future. We don't have an issue with electric vehicles and students driving. that could become an issue with people trying to charge their cars and park in certain areas near outlets. So every year creates a different problem or a different success. So we take what we learn that's successful and we try to apply it to the other schools that we can. And if it's not successful, then we'll try to change it, to improve it to something better.
Thank you for your presentation tonight, and thank you and the officers for the efforts that you made towards safety in our community.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mike, go ahead.
Well, I live a block away from Jefferson Elementary.
Mhm.
And I went out last year at the beginning of school, and I can only describe it as chaos.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of the chaos is due to the school district itself. I believe the gates don't open to the school to 8:15.
Mhm.
So a lot of parents arrive early, especially at the beginning of the school year. So they park, and then there's no parking, so other parents decide they're going to double park until they see their child going into the school itself. I can't see why the school district can't open the door at 8 o'clock, because I think it will really increase the flow of people. And you won't have this 15-minute period where everything is concentrated and it just becomes a mess. The other thing I would like to point out is what I call the feeder streets. What's a real problem in my mind, don't have the facts, is a lot of cars come down Scott Road and make the left turn onto 6th Street. And they're carrying a lot of speed with them from Scott. They don't have a stop sign until they get to Irving. And then when they get to Irving, they don't have a stop sign until they get to Eaton. So there's a lot of traffic moving very quickly. And I know your officers are concentrated near the school campus itself, but out in the further part, there's a lot of nonsense going on that I think maybe patrol can take a look at instead of being right at the school. And that's all I have to say, except thank you very much for your presentation.
Yes, sir.
Romick, did you want to jump in?
Definitely. Lieutenant Burgess, thank you so much for your presentation. My daughter's 14 years old, actually about to turn 15 next week, and she's going to start as a sophomore at Burbank High School. So drop-offs, I've seen enforcement is fantastic in regards to the flow of traffic. Whenever there's an officer's there, everyone's obeying the law. And you said there was, I believe, one officer for every 2 to 3 schools. Is that correct?
Correct.
I feel like there's more of a concern around pickup, and I'm sure you guys are aware of this as well, because of course you have a lot of vehicles parked in the red zone, but from what I've experienced is also the reckless driving behavior there from the young kids who are getting out of schools who have these cars who are driving erratically, or even from parents that I've seen. I mean, there was an incident where my daughter gets in a car and she was really concerned because she was almost ran off the road by a gentleman who was just gunning it up the street. So is that enforcement in the morning, or that 2 to 3 schools per one officer, is that consistent in the morning and in the evening?
It is, and the point of having to rotate the officers, parking control, and our community service officers, and having 3 different resources to deploy helps us target certain schools and the specific issues that they're having. Obviously, Burbank High School is one of those schools where let me step back. After the first 2 weeks of talking to everybody and seeing how things are going, what we've improved on, what's not been, hasn't been successful, and we start making those adjustments, is I talk with the officers too, and we kind of decide what the main problems are at the certain schools. I believe it was Providencia. I spoke with a citizen, and she was having a really big problem for pickup time with cars parking in the alley and blocking her garage. That would be a school that once we get over the first 2 weeks and get some of the input, that I wouldn't have an officer at. That's one that I would deploy a parking control, because we're having a major parking issue there. The high schools, especially, you're right, at pickup time, you have a lot of the kids that can drive now, and they have fancy cars from mom and dad, and they want to let everybody know, and we have an issue. Parking control is not going to do a whole lot of good at that school. So that's where we deploy an officer so they can take appropriate enforcement action if they need to. So we do allocate our resources to the appropriate school just depending on what issues they have.
Appreciate that. Layla? Go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. And I know myself and many other Burbank Unified parents are glad to hear there are additional resources this year to help at the schools. And so I just had a question, was an idea that I had heard or talked about with some other parents of, especially for middle schools and high schools, maybe more so, or maybe older elementary age kids, because for various reasons, a lot of families do have to drive to school, right? It's just not feasible for the kids to walk or bike. And I realize there would be, challenges with neighbors at the school or not even on the block of the school. But is there any thoughts about having sort of like encouraging people to have sort of alternate, like a designated alternate drop-off spot that's maybe like
Oh,
a
absolutely.
block from school? Like, do any of this, like our school doesn't have that, but I know some parents just do that on their own, right? They just
Right.
kind of drop them off and all their friends get dropped off at the same spot, but it's not right in the school, so they can just walk the last block or two or whatever it is kind of thing.
Yeah.
To alleviate.
We do. I'm
A
sorry, I
bit.
didn't mean to cut you off. We do, and like I said, each school is different, and the officers that respond out there, for instance, John Muir School, a lot of times the reasoning the parents don't want to drop them off is they say, well, I don't want my son or daughter to have to cross the street and get hit by a car. So we give them, the advice that we give them is drop them off down the street, one block behind, or on the within that same block, so they only need to make
Right.
or left-hand turns. So we try to give them pointers on that, and that's part of the educational process with that. And when we talk to and when I was talking about the staff earlier too, we don't expect the staff to take any type of enforcement. They're our eyes and ears in front of the school, so we can hear and see what their issues are. So we'll encourage them to, if we start seeing a certain issue, and I just keep using John Muir because I had that picture up earlier. But with a school like that, is we'll talk with the administrators and say, hey, if you start having parents talk to you or question you about where should I drop my kid off? This is the only place. They want certain gates open. Schools don't want to open certain gates. They don't want to open early, which would be helpful. I used to try to drop my kids off at least a half hour early at school, and sometimes I'd have to sit there and wait because the gates weren't open. So I get it, and I get the parents' frustration too. But that's why we try to have those conversations and say, well, try dropping them off, instead of on Kenneth, go down to the corner of Walnut and drop them off and have them walk a little bit, But some parents just don't want their kids to walk.
Yeah.
Anne, you're in a school setting.
Oh, yes. And I live right by a school setting. First of all, thank you very much for your report, and I'm sorry if I sighed. There was one piece of information that,
Don't incriminate yourself.
concerning, well, it's too late now. But anyway, looking at the school year, which we have, 13, 14, 20 days left to get ready for, where do you see areas where you want the district maybe to step up or such, given the fact that we have major changes at multiple layers of our administration, the top, the middle? Where are we in need?
To be quite honest with you, I might be speaking out of pocket here, but crossing guards.
Okay.
It's very difficult for us to staff that position. It's since they're police employees, the process that they have to go to get hired takes a lot longer than it would for the average job. And it's very hard to find somebody that's willing to work 2 hours in the morning, take 4 hours off, work 2 hours in the afternoon, and then sometimes have to come back for a special event that might be at the school. So it's very difficult. A lot of people think it'd be very easy. There are plenty of retirees that would love to do it. It's not easy. So that's one of the main things that we struggle with, and that's the first complaint that I usually get from parents is, where's the crossing guard? Because sometimes if one calls in sick, we don't have a replacement, because it's very hard to find a substitute crossing guard that's going to work even less than the 2 hours. So good news is that we have onboarded a couple, we tried to hire 5 more crossing guards. It's been a struggle to get through that and hire them. So we're consistently trying to hire more, but that's probably one of our biggest challenges.
What about the flyer that goes out to parents, and is there a generic one that the district can include, perhaps in registration or first day or day they get their books. There's a lot of options to get that information out. Does the district work with the police department for that generic flyer? And what I mean is including information like perhaps you drop your student off 2 blocks away or.
Yeah, I mean, the issue with that, once again, is it's really hard to put out a generic flyer for the entire district because
Okay.
there's so many different issues with different schools. Some schools have hardly any problems, and some have a lot of problems depending on the type of students that they have. High school parking and traffic enforcement around the schools is completely different than at our elementary schools. Elementary schools, I mean, hopefully the kids aren't driving to school, but it's mostly the parents. And then with high school, that's when you start having the kids getting their license and driving to school. And you got to show off when you're driving down 3rd Street in front of Burbank High, because
I had one other thing, and I might have forgotten it. I might have pulled a mic, but
Ouch. And we can come back to you. if
I
you
will
want to.
possibly come back. But thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take that report up later. Lieutenant Barkas, again, thank you for the presentation. I do have a couple of questions, but I want to start with a comment. A lot of what you're discussing, I'm realizing, and hearing comments from the commissioners as well, it's bringing back some really good memories of, like you mentioned, talking about waiting with your kids and,
Right.
and getting them to school and stuff. One of the things that I did was my in-laws lived about 2 blocks away from the elementary school that my kids went to. It was Emerson, and parking the car and like walking those 2 blocks was like something really valuable.
Right.
The crossing guard we developed like a personal relationship with the crossing guard, and I really they're beloved in the community and everything. And so we see them there for years. I think the crossing guard that was there with my kids was probably there for like 20 years altogether or something like that. So that was special. Weird question. What are the age restrictions on becoming a crossing guard?
over 18.
Over 18? Okay.
High school diploma, GED, but we rarely see young people applying for it.
Okay.
And the other problem too that we have with the crossing guards is when we do make an announcement for a city job, is you have a lot of people that go in and just want to get a city job, so they apply for
Yeah.
every position.
Yeah.
And they put their name in, and then we have to go through. I think I had at one point there was like over 200 applicants, and I'm going through resumes, and a lot of them are speaking about their education and a master's degree, and they're looking for full-time employment within a city, and I go, this isn't for, they're not applying to be a crossing guard.
Right.
There's a certain type of person we're looking for that position.
Okay.
So it's, the restrictions are, just over 18 and still able to walk.
Okay.
As far as age goes.
Is the over 18, is that a hard and fast rule, or is that just a preference?
I think it's a hard and fast rule, especially for us. I think it could be different if it was managed maybe by the school district. For us, to employ somebody with the police department especially, once they're
Yeah.
under 18, there's certain requirements with the work permit that come
Right,
into play.
right.
And that would make it even more difficult for us to manage
Okay.
that program.
I'm thinking about seniors that, like, my son, when he was a senior, he started school late and he got out early. And
Yeah.
you were talking about that window and the need to have that flexibility. That might be an untapped pool if it was possible, but I don't,
I think
it'd
it'd
have
be
to be
awesome.
explored. It would have to be explored a little
Yeah,
bit.
I think it'd be awesome if the school district was able to do that, because that would be a great opportunity for the seniors to make some extra money.
You talked about, and Romick brought this up too. You talked about one officer for every 2 to 3 schools, and I know that when the school year starts up, there's usually more than one officer at schools, and you're kind of picking where they're going to be, which means that there's going to be places where you'll have extra officers, and there's going to be places where you may not have any. A little bit. 12 motor officers right now?
We're budgeted for 12.
We're budgeted for 12.
We have 6 right now.
Six out of 12, and then how many officers are in vehicles in the traffic division as well?
Correction, I'm sorry. We have 7 motor officers. We have 1 officer, but he's a traffic vehicle, but he works DUI enforcement in the evening. So
Okay.
we have no traffic officers during the day except for our patrol officers.
Do you have a sense when the school year starts up, these can be just rough estimates of the overtime, not the overtime costs or the overtime people that need to come in to help cover shifts to give you the coverage that you need at the beginning of the school year?
Generally, with the school year, we just redeploy our officers to it. We'll adjust their schedules. We don't necessarily bring people in on overtime for that.
Gotcha.
And we do, during those first couple of weeks too, we do make it a point to go to our roll calls for the regular patrol officers and just remind them that, hey, school's starting. If you guys don't mind spending a little bit of extra time out at the schools,
Okay.
that would help out. And there's been times too where we do have different from our community service officer, we have community resource officers too that are actual police officers that work in a different bureau than us. But we're able to tap some of those resources
Great.
and say, hey, you might starting at 7 and flexing your hours a little bit and coming in and just and helping out with patrols around the school. So it is a combined effort amongst the department.
I appreciate that. And then as Mike had raised too, the observation that you had, like if the officers are pulled to certain schools or sites, that they may be pulled away from being able to do patrol in other areas. So it's almost literally a catch-as-catch-can type of a situation. But I was just thinking about the staffing. I'm also thinking about it in the context of a prior presentation that we had. We were talking about the 2035 plan and the recommendations that the commission's starting to look at to help the city council take a look at what do we need to do to expand the department. This is a conversation I know we've had in a number of different places. I just want to keep that in mind when we're helping make those recommendations down the road, because if there's a need for additional staffing, we're not magic. We can't come up with additional dollars or additional bodies or anything like that. But if we can help advocate it all, please let us know so we can work on that. The LAS units, you made reference to LAS parking. How many units, I don't know if they're called units or people or what do they do, but how many folks are out there with LAS parking? Because you talked about one officer for every 2 to 3 schools. I'm curious about how that gets, how many LAS officers or LAS staff there are as well.
So the 2 to 3 schools is divided amongst our motor officers, and they're the ones that I have made contact with the school because I have direct supervision over them.
Okay.
The LAS and the community service officers, who still technically report to me, they're not necessarily the ones that are made the point of contact for the school administration. That's done with the actual traffic officers themselves. But the other resources, as far as LAS goes, they have, depending on the day of the week, but they have 9 employed, but there can be up to probably 4 to 5 working at one time.
Okay.
We also have LAS officers, but there are certain ones that are dedicated just to the metered parking downtown.
Okay.
So they're kind of divided in that sense. And that's, like I said before, with having the officers go out there and speak with the administrators, and a lot of those officers already have previous relationships with them.
Good.
And they talk to them. It's the same. We try to keep the same schools with the same officers to have
Good.
some consistency. And that's how we decide how we're going to deploy. Like I said, with certain schools, it's a parking issue. I don't need an officer there. Maybe they can be a few blocks away where they're having cars come down, Scott Road, and they
Yeah.
can do a little bit of enforcement over there and still be kind of near the same area. But that's when we utilize, at least this year, now that we're having that, implementing that, is we'll have those officers there.
Great.
Our community service officers will be able to do parking enforcement as well. And their cars look a little more similar to police cars. They'll be in pretty big, decent sized trucks that says police on it.
Okay.
Community service officers, so we'll be breaking those out this year, and you
Okay.
should see those around the schools too.
Some of the work that I do, there are staff in different programs that have to meet like quotas for claiming of services and that type of a thing. Are the LAS officers, and I know we've got a bigger presentation, I think, coming up down the road about LAS. I can't remember when it is. But for this purpose, are the LAS officers required, do they have any kind of a quota for writing parking tickets or anything like that? Is there anything in their contract that requires, we know they're doing parking enforcement, but is there anything that's driving them to have to hit quotas or anything like that? Because I'm just aware that there may be a difference between a LAS attendant going out to the school versus an officer.
Right.
Because the officers, you're going to have discretion to be able to interact, whereas the LAS staff, it might be just a ticket and move on. I'm wondering if there's any quotas requirements for them.
I wasn't part of the contract
Okay.
with them, but I highly doubt that there was anything
Okay.
of a quota.
Okay.
And they're very, we meet with LAS on a daily, almost a daily basis. And we've had issues before, like when we implemented the downtown paid meter parking.
Right.
Is we went 2 weeks as well and just issued warnings. So they'll work with us. They're not their main mission is just to run out there and just start citing every single person.
Yeah.
We just want them, and they'll know it too. It is for visibility. And like I said, and that's not going to affect their contract with us because they're not out there writing tickets and they're just giving advisals. It's just about having the presence of a uniformed person out there just to keep
Perfect.
traffic moving.
Okay. Ray?
Yeah, so I was part of that contract discussion, and there is no quota in that contract. It's just enforcement of the traffic parking laws
I
within the city of
appreciate that.
Burbank.
I appreciate that. Mike?
If my memory still works, which doesn't, I think about 10 months ago, 11 months, Chief Albanese when we're on the subject of traffic, said that there were going to be cameras coming and trailers, more technology coming to the city. Is that happening, and do you ever see some of that technology being placed near schools?
Yes, we use that technology a lot at the schools when we have speed complaints. And a lot of times what it ends up showing is that the majority of people are actually obeying the law. Nobody calls us to say, hey, everyone's going 25 miles an hour today, good job. They call us when they see that one car speeding by. So we will deploy those speed trailers, and they record data, and we can use that data to better curtail our enforcement.
I thought we were also going to receive speed cameras.
Not that I'm aware of.
Paul, go ahead.
He was also, I mean, if I remember this correctly, the same conversation, it involved a lot of the streets up on the hill, and I thought they were stop sign violations and red light violations.
Okay.
Because I remember him saying that people are complaining no one stops. Well, when the camera comes in and they're doing the same thing, then maybe they'll have a different feeling on it. But is that not in the pipeline?
Not that I'm aware of. That would be probably more through CDD as far as the traffic division. I'm not aware of that.
Okay. I think Ann wanted to jump in, and then Romick.
Thank you. Looking at the police safety, schools, community connection, is there a possibility that the chief might prepare a message to the community and school families that might be posted on Facebook? Hey, schools are opening, and this is, your chief, and possibly.
I love that statement, Commissioner. Here's the reason. For me, I am already anticipating, I think it should be normal for us to ensure that the message that needs to get across as far as related to safety is shared. We cast a wide net, in other words, is what I'm trying to say. Social media is definitely one of the avenues, but I think we consistently do it. The messaging changes throughout the year depending on what we're seeing. So if we were dealing with a certain crime issue as far as like people not locking their vehicles, we're going to deliver that message. So yes, we will anticipate, and I'll make sure that we do that. And I think that's kind of normal for our city for us to do that and share that message.
Okay.
Whether it's me or coming from the Traffic Bureau.
Okay, perfect. Happy to help in any way.
Thank you for that. Romick, go ahead.
Thank you, James. First, I'm glad you brought up the speed trailers because they're super effective. Seeing a difference on driving nightly through Glen Oaks, just throughout the community, it really does slow people down when they do see the red and blue lights light up. Second, would it be possible, just thinking about an idea here, about segmented drop-off times? Like possibly having a conversation with the district and saying, hey, would it be possible for certain grades to be let go at a certain time, maybe like 10-minute intervals, where it kind of allows parents to come in, pick up those kids, and kind of help the steady flow of traffic? Is that something that we can have a conversation with the school district about, or, I mean, Ann could maybe.
I mean, I think it's a great idea. Anytime we can control the number of vehicles dropping off, picking up, et cetera, I would think, as a parent, grandparent, my first reaction would be, oh, I don't know that I can do that.
Yeah.
But I think any conversation is worth going down.
Yeah, I think it's a conversation we could have. I don't know how feasible it would be. That seems like it'd be a lot of planning, and I know as soon as you start changing times, it has to do with funding with school and the certain hours and stuff that they have to have students in. So I don't know those regulations that they.
In a sense, the elementary schools have early bird, late bird through third grade. I know at Burroughs we have 7:30 classes, so there's some of that, but nothing. Probably like what you're suggesting. I think it's worth the discussion.
That early bird and late bird brought back another memory
I
as well.
know.
I don't know if you had that one, but
yeah.
I know I had that one as well, which helps with that. So that is something that is in place.
Every Wednesday.
Yep.
Messed up my afternoon.
Any other questions that commissioners have?
More of a comment. I kind of had this from more than one viewpoint. Well, first as a parent at a parochial school, and as the husband of a teacher, and then riding along. I will advise the commission that if you do a ride along in the morning, that takes the motor officer off his motorcycle and puts him into a vehicle, and not necessarily what he wants to do.
Lieutenant Barkus did say that there are 6 motor officers, and I know there are at least 12 motorcycles, so maybe we can get a commissioner to ride on one of the other
maybe let a
motorcycles.
commissioner
No?
ride along.
Okay,
We've looked
fine.
into sidecars too.
But I,
I'm going to keep trying.
I going right back to what Romick said about the speed cameras, the speed thing, people react to being studied. People react to enforcement. And I noticed as a parent, the first 2 weeks, it was like everywhere you look, you saw someone in blue.
Yeah.
And I agree with you 1,000%. That's when habits for the rest of the year are established. So that's one of the reasons why I asked to have this moved from August to July.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like after the barn door's been closed, we were having the meeting.
Right.
Or the barn door's been open, I guess, in this case. But please, if there's anything that we can do, even with the community outreach or whatever, please let us know. And like I said, on October 11th, the bicycle safety is very important to me, and I'm really glad we have a chief now that's had some experiences with electric bicycles, or I like the fact that we're calling them motorcycles at this point, because I think that's, this commission was 2 years ahead of the game on that one and asking questions about those. But the thing about October 11th is that it gives an opportunity for the officers to speak with children and to humanize the badge, as you
Right.
said, and to realize that the person in blue is not someone to be afraid of. They're there to help.
Yeah.
So we look forward to that. Thank you.
Lieutenant Barkus, I want to thank you for your presentation, and you please sit down and relax. I want to ask the commissioners if there are any comments or recommendations that we feel we need to make at this time related to
Thank you.
school traffic safety and beginning of school. Romick, go
I
ahead.
would say not a recommendation, but I think what we can do is, I know that periodically, we meet independently with the superintendent. So
Right.
that conversation about segmenting drop-off times is a conversation that we can have, then report back to the commission.
Great.
We can do that.
Okay. Any other recommendations, Mike?
Yeah, we've got National Night Out coming up, and I'm wondering, we go out to the community with the officers. Is there something that we can share as pamphlets or anything like that would be useful?
Ann's got an example that we
Something's
might be
coming
able
up.
to do.
Okay,
The Drive Light
good.
Save Lives campaign. But you're talking specifically about school safety?
Yes. On National Night Out, we go to these block parties and
Right.
things, and we see a lot of people, a lot of kids, and it would be a perfect time to maybe share some things with them if we'd like to get a message out.
It's actually a really good idea, and we can follow up with Sherry afterwards to see if there's material available in case the department wants to get some material out and wants commissioners to take material out related to school safety. Paul?
If I'm interpreting this correctly, National Night Out is literally the week before school starts.
Yep.
So that's an excellent, wonderful idea, and I think that we should encourage the individual schools to have welcome tables at Johnny Carson Park, or where the main place it is, or even in the neighborhoods when we do the individual neighborhood meet and greets, like you said. That's a great opportunity to get people out in a disarming way to just talk and realize that everybody's on the same side. How are we going to make this safer?
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. Chief?
Chair Coombs, if I may, you had asked for what can the commission do specifically to help out the police department. 2 things. So the first thing that Lieutenant Barkus, and is LT still here? There he is. Great presentation. Thank you very much for that. Very informative. So I'll first want to address the crossing guards. So as Lieutenant Barkus mentioned, it definitely is a challenge. And there's one thing that we are currently looking into right now, specifically with using a private contractor or consultant that could deliver on the availability and the continuity of coverage. My understanding is there's 26 schools in the city of Burbank, and that's a lot as far as to maintain that type of coverage across crossing guards. And taking into consideration the assumption that, assuming that everybody's healthy, everybody's available, but if you had a contractor doing it, that would ensure that you always had someone. The outreach that is necessary for it, sometimes it's kind of a lot for us, ensuring other priorities. If that is something that the commission could take on and help in reaching out to respective cities, areas, especially leveraging your relationships with other school districts and seeing what is it that they're doing. Just on the surface, the little bit of information that I do know, I know that there are some cities in the region that contract with one of those companies, and we had explored that option, I want to say at least over 10 years ago. So having your help and assistance in that, coming back and reporting on what other schools, what contractors I use would allow me then to generate some type of report as far as doing what's best for the organization.
That sounds great.
Number two, the community outreach, definitely. As far as I think that outreach needs to be constant. We definitely can't let the gas pedal off on that, but also the conversation also needs to happen at the higher level with the district. So if you have those relationships with the district, the suggestions that you're making as far as whether changing schedules or otherwise, even determining the feasibility, mean you reaching out as parents, as citizens, experiencing these problems yourself, and then shifting some of that onus onto the administrator of the district would be very helpful. Because your parents have kids going there at the schools. Versus us, really, we're more the law enforcement, the regulatory arm than anything else. And
Right.
our suggestions may fall on deaf ears, considering that for the most part, we may not have kids at the respective schools. So those two things would definitely be helpful if you as a commission would be willing to take that on.
Appreciate that. I saw a hand from Mike and then Paul.
Just wanted to ask you, Chief, about crossing guards in Glendale. Anything different there than here?
Contracted.
Thank you.
Great. Paul?
Yeah, the thing is, the city has departments for everything, including senior citizens and Jocelyn Center and things of that nature. And I'm wondering if a presentation in there might be a recruiting opportunity. I personally know some senior citizens through the veterans organizations that walk from way past my house to the Jocelyn Center every morning, and they're obviously healthy enough to do that. And they might be interested in being crossing guards to or from their daily trek over to the Jocelyn Center. I'm just saying that we've got to sing a song. We should preach to the choir. Maybe it's worth a pitch.
I appreciate that. Any other comments or recommendations on this item? All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and close that out. Again, thank you, Lieutenant Barkus, and thank you, Chief, for your comments on that as well. We're moving on to item G2, which is a presentation, discussion, and recommendations, if applicable, on the review of the 2024 crime statistics. Please remind me which commissioner had motioned for this item previously. I can't remember off the top of my head. Mike? Okay, good to know. Awesome, thank you. We have crime analyst Ken Penu coming up. Ken, good to see you again.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Ken Panu. I'm the crime analyst for Burbank Police Department and, well, one of the crime analysts anyway. I'm here to talk about crime statistics for 2024. And I'll give you an overview of the crime categories that we use when we're reporting crime, and I'll compare it to a couple prior years to give it some context. If you could start the PowerPoint.
There we go.
Really? Did he turn it
Lieutenant Barkus really mashed that button.
on? I
earlier.
know.
Thank you, Sherry. Oh, got a frozen machine?
You gotta go back.
There
Is
we
it
go.
working now? Okay, cool.
Awesome.
All right, to really understand crime statistics, you have to know what NIBRS is. That's the instant-based reporting system. And this replaced what we used to have, which was UCR. And the significance is the old system had one crime. So if they did a report, it was a burglary and a vehicle theft. And that does happen. They break into a house, find the keys, steal a car. It only went in as a burglary. It had a hierarchy. Now we can have up to 10 crimes per report, and they're called offenses, and they're all equal. There's no hierarchy. We've had this in place since 2022, and it gives us better precision when reporting crimes. I personally like it. I'm probably the only one, but I think it gives great information when you're looking at crime. There's 3 categories: person, property, and society. Crimes against person, it's pretty much all those right there. But really to focus on the main drivers, aggravated assault and simple assault are the 2 crime categories that have the most offenses in Burbank. The difference is aggravated assault is with a weapon or caused injury, and simple assault is you push somebody, spit on them, it's not as serious. Crimes against property. There are several of them, but robbery, burglary, theft, vehicle theft, those are the main drivers in this one. Vandalism, we get several, and fraud, but the main drivers are the ones I mentioned. And the significance of these categories is if you look out on our website, we post these every month. Sergeant Turner does that for us, and these are the crime categories that are broken down by the FBI when they report crime. We can go further. Obviously, we can have residential burglary, commercial burglary. Within theft, we can have retail theft, whatever. But these are the main, when you're looking at the stats out on our website, that's what you'll find. And crimes against society, there's several of them, but drugs and weapons, totally, that's where all those numbers come from when you're looking at crimes against society. So to look at the stats, this is total crime by year for the last 3 years, calendar years. 2022 to 2023, it dropped 0.7%. And then from 2023 to 2024, it dropped all the way down to 6.6% down. And the significance of this is all the categories, every offense. It's not weighted in any way. This is just total offenses. And if you go to crimes by year, by the different categories, you'll find that person crime is pretty steady. It jumped up a little, but then it leveled off. Property crime is down from the previous year. It was down in 2024. And society crime, mainly drugs, is trending up. I know our weapons is pretty stable, but the crime activity is really where there's a fluctuation in society crimes. If you want to look at personal crimes by year, I focused on aggravated assault and simple assault because those are the 2 that roughly drive this crime category. And aggravated assault is actually trending up, and simple assault has been steady over the last 3 years. When we look at property crime, robbery is down slightly, burglary is actually trending up a little, and vehicle theft is also steady. So there hasn't been much transition in those numbers. And then I pulled out theft because theft is the main crime in Burbank, and specifically retail theft. That's almost 60% of all the theft. And it was up in 2023, but it has dropped in 2024. So 2023 was a bad year. However, if you look at total crime, like I showed before, it actually overall dropped that year. And then crimes against society. Weapons are steady, like I said, and drugs have been going down the last 3 years. So really to sum it up, crime is going down, and I wanted to show, including 2025, this is January through June for each year. So that's just through the mid-year point. We were down 8.7, 4.0, and we're down 3.5 from last year. And I know drugs are up, drug arrests are up this year, but everything else is really trending down. So we're really looking good right now as far as our crime statistics go. do you have any questions about this?
It's fantastic. I appreciate this. Mike, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Can you bring up that last slide again?
All right.
Oh, if we can bring the slides back up. Thank you.
My question concerned 2025. So that's 3447 year-to-date
Yes. Well, that's through June,
through
the
June.
end of June.
So if it goes to June, that means we have 6 more months left.
Yes.
So there's a good chance that number can be higher.
Yes, that's true.
So something is not quite right. Well, we're going to find out the answer. No, maybe not.
January through June. And that's just,
Are they all through June? I see
oh,
where
I'm sorry. I
Thank you.
misunderstood.
See?
Yeah.
You should stay.
Every year is January through June. So
Okay.
that's actually the way the trend is right now through mid-year for all the years.
Oh, excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Romit, go ahead.
Thank you so much for your presentation. So the downward slope that we're seeing and the reducing crime that we're seeing, what does that attribute to? Is that just better enforcement or?
Well, there's a lot of specifics you can get into in a lot of categories because you can break them down further and further. But in general, theft is down and mainly retail theft, and that's because of there was a 2-strike law or 3-strike law that I talked about in my last presentation where they're increasing the severity of the whatever they're sentencing, and they're not coming back. And we're doing more enforcement in the Empire Center, and we've seen a drop in that. And actually, we've seen a drop in a lot of categories. The only thing I've really seen going up is drug arrests, and that doesn't necessarily mean drugs or we have more drugs. It's just we're stopping people who have drugs in their cars. We get a lot of it. In fact, most of them from that, and drug arrests. But overall, that's the way it's trending, and that's pretty much why.
Right. I understand that the zero bail policy was a big attribute to like a lot of retail theft that was happening in the community. I mean, things that we saw, reports that we got. And is the zero bail policy still in effect, or is that gone?
The what effect?
The zero bail policy?
You probably don't deal with the zero bail policy in the work that you're doing, correct?
Commissioner, the zero bail policy is still in effect, although it's been modified from its original form to something that is a little bit more reasonable now.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
And I think with Ken, with what you're reporting on the arrests, and then the zero bail piece would come in after the arrest.
Well, actually, I want to point out that the offenses are what the officers see when they,
Right.
What they actually get charged with. Some of the offenses may not end up in the charging.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's another process all itself. But I just want you to know that that's what the offenses are when the officer makes the arrest, so.
Appreciate that. Layla, did you have any questions, Layla? Data is your thing. You have to have some questions. No? Not yet? Okay, all right. One of the things, data can be tricky because it can become a rabbit hole that we run down and everything. Early in your presentation, you were talking about in one of the categories, I think robbery and theft were at the top of the area, top of the ladder, and then there were other crimes that were much lower that the numbers they're not as high.
Exactly.
And one of them was fraud. And I remember from the community academy, there was a whole section in an evening talking about the work that detectives are doing around fraud and investigations and everything. I'm wondering if you experience, because you get a chance to see the types of officers and the types of units that are out there. The fraud unit is a relatively small unit compared to, for example, patrol or traffic division or something like that. If we had more officers focusing on fraud, do you think you would see the numbers go up?
Well, we do have a lot of fraud. Fraud and vandalism are two that I maybe could have shared because we do get a lot of those. But fraud isn't necessarily, just a task force going after people.
Right.
Like if they arrest somebody and they have credit cards that are stolen,
Okay.
that could be under fraud.
Okay, because of the 10 categories, yeah.
So, and within fraud, there's other categories. So, but I just want to let you know, it's not just one force doing it.
I appreciate that. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Paul, go ahead.
I know we're not there yet, but how far away are we from being able to break down offenders by zip code? So we know whether, for instance, you said the Empire Center, that's an easy off the freeway, on the freeway opportunity. And I was under the impression that I think in 2024 they were going to start tracking by zip code. Is that something you've been working with?
Well, more than zip code, my personal preference, we have reporting districts. So within each beat, you could have, like, one reporting district would be Empire Center, but I've seen it where some businesses, there's a reporting district for their garage and then a bit, for their business, two different reporting systems. If we went by reporting district, you can really narrow down an area that has, what their crime is happening in a specific area.
Yeah, you're talking about where it's happening. I'm talking about the offenders. How many are, I'm just saying people that
how
aren't,
many?
they're coming from outside of Burbank. I think the chief and I spoke about it with Americana, the same thing, people that come from outside the community to an attractive location and try and get on, try and get off.
Well, I know that our arrest report every morning, well, I think that's not public information, may not be, but I know we have the zip code because we get their information, so I could easily pull that.
And Mr. McKenna, to answer your question, if what you're asking for is specifically getting granular in the sense of the crimes that are committed within Burbank, who out of what proportionate amount are being committed by outsiders versus insiders? Anecdotally, I can tell you, especially with respect to both cities, that the majority are significant of more than 60% are probably being committed by outsiders. Just that's anecdotally on the reports that I do see where they're being arrested, what areas are coming, but we could be able to access that information. And then the other data might be also conflating it a little with the RIPA stop data that we discussed last time. That's when it was mentioned by Lieutenant Emil Brimway as far as the racial profiling information where those people are where they reside.
I don't know exactly how that would be implemented, but I know one of the conversations I had with people that people seem to object to because I don't think they understand is what I consider community policing. I've been pulled over twice in Burbank in 22 years. Both times I had a new car. It was a car at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm on the road. I got pulled over, and I was like, I don't know, the reason was I didn't get a ticket, but I'm sure it was someone didn't recognize that car. What's he doing here? And to me, that's community policing. That's not offensive if you're a law-abiding citizen. And to me, some of that would come to play with cars or people that we were not familiar with. But like I said, I don't know how to put a finger on it. I just know that where I grew up, when the 80 freeway went in, crime went up 30%. Because it was the same thing. It was get on, get off. And I'm just curious because, and the chief and I had spoken about coming from Glendale to Americana and having the Empire Center. These are attractive targets.
And I think it was discussed the last time as far as accessibility, especially with the Empire Center, the 5 freeway being right there, the accessibility, the ingress and egress. So it's accessible where you're coming into the city, committing a crime, and then by the time that 911 call is generated, the accessibility to the freeway, you're also leaving the city. And our response time, even though it is phenomenal within 3 minutes or so, I mean, by the time it goes through and they make the call, we're responding within 3 minutes from the time of call. That doesn't take into account the delay on the actual victims generating that call.
My home is a half mile, according to GPS, from the 5. And I had a business across the street from me that was robbed 3 times in 1 week. This is many years ago. CHP finally got the people on the 3rd time, but on the freeway. By the time it was on the freeway. So that it is the interagency cooperation, but knowing that we're looking for somebody who's not driving around the corner, they're trying to get on the freeway.
Paul, something that also might be helpful too, and this is actually a question for Layla, if you could briefly describe the work that you did a few years ago about developing the data request with the department. One of the issues that was coming up is there were questions that were coming up that were taking up a lot of staff resource time to be able to pull data from this. A lot of the information that you shared, I appreciate this. A lot of the information you shared, Ken, is it's available online.
Yes.
We can go pull that. The charts are fantastic because it helps us synthesize it for this. But Layla, can you talk briefly about the form that was created and how? I'm wondering if that form actually comes to you or if it goes to someone else. Go ahead and describe the form first, and we'll.
Yeah, just it's a pretty simple form, I think, but just worked with the department in terms of what is, if the commission has a data question, like if you had the question about
Location.
what what are the locations that folks are coming to, coming from rather, and that might be a simple one where it's like you just want two numbers, right? What % are from residing in Burbank and what % don't, but or it could be something more, detailed data. But it just kind of has you, lay out what is the question you're trying to answer, what are the years of data that you're interested in, right? Are you looking for a trend or you just want to know, this last year, what happened? What type of, granularity, right? So city level, just what % of people, on either side, or is it something you want to know by zip code or something like that? That's all specified in there. And what format, because in some cases it might be just, a Word document kind of thing with like some helpful charts like that have been shared here, right? Versus sometimes you might want the actual data like in a spreadsheet, right? Where you might want to be able to sift through it and add up the numbers in the way that you want and filter it, that kind of thing. So,
The reason I'm bringing it up is, Ken, you'd mentioned that the morning briefing, the morning reports, there's a report that comes out, but it may not necessarily be available to the public, that gives detailed information about the arrest, the arrest, what did you call it? It was the arrest?
It's
Arrest log?
daily arrest log.
Daily
yes.
arrest log. But if it's not public data, what we could do is if that's something that you're interested in and something we want to pursue, we get a copy of the form. I believe we turn it over to Sherry, who then processes it and gets it to wherever it needs to be in the department, and that kind of controls it. Or
So just for your information, so our records department posts our daily arrest log. It's typically 2 or 3 days delayed, but in a lot of those arrests, it has the city of residence where that arrestee is from. So
Yes, they have usually the person's occupation and the city they're from.
Yep.
So I was going to say that, jump on that, saying that's already, I just thought that a couple months ago, we were told that that had not been necessarily tallied or tracked in that way for long-term statistics, but I thought as of 2024, that was going to happen. So I was just curious if that was in the works.
and in the meantime, we can use the form that Layla helped create.
I don't think it's a burden that
Okay.
the city needs to be.
Okay.
And something that we're currently working on right now, we talk about something that eventually I will be coming before the commission to say things that we've either achieved or things that we have on the horizon. Specifically, technology is one of those components. Currently, we're looking at software that will be able to build out these dashboards.
Great.
My expectation, I think our intention as an organization is to generate less staff work for people. I mean, you're not the only residents that are asking these questions. They're thoughtful questions. They're appropriate questions. We get them consistently when we go out there in the community. I want to be able to automate it. Hence the reason that we're looking for where I can say, go to our webpage, burbankca.gov/PD, look at the dashboard available, and then if you're familiar with Excel, you can play with pivot tables or whatever to get the appropriate data you want. So that's in the near future. That's coming. We currently have some of those dashboards, but we're looking at improving those.
Cool.
That's exactly what I was.
Perfect.
What I thought we've been told, and I'm glad to hear that it is.
Perfect. We're all moving in the same direction. Any other questions? Mike?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In years previous, Burbank participated in crimevamping.com. And there was a significant amount of information provided, not detailed, but about crime. And Burbank dropped out of that about a year ago. And a new program was coming in. What's the new
LexisNexis.
program, and is it up to par now? Or they weren't collecting a lot of information. It was taking some time at first.
Yeah, it's fully functional now. It's LexisNexis. I don't know the website name off the top of my head, but it provides the same information. You can see the crimes with little pins, or you can look at it I think it gives you the option with heat maps, and you can click on them and it'll give you a detail of the,
Would backstop you on
There we go.
It's a communitycrimemap.com.
oh, I'm sorry, it's
Community, okay.
Communitycrimemap.com.
And you can run, download reports and things like that from?
yes, it's pretty much the same. It gives you the same information. You can put in search criteria, so dates, whatever types of crime you're looking for.
And it seemed like at the time when we were talking, we've talked about this before, the information that was being provided there was very much like this information that was being provided to the state over a period of time. So it would be pretty accurate too.
It's all based on our reports, so it's, everything should be there that you're looking for.
Oh, okay.
And commissioners, I would suggest that maybe offline later on tonight, communitycrimemap.com. It's real easy to use. You go online, visual dashboard with respective images that will be highlighted, shown for you. You can move it around the map as far as or type in an address to give you a better understanding of it. It's real friendly.
Looking forward to playing around with that. Thank you. Thank you.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
does that include accident report?
I can't remember if it does or not. I know it has an option to. I don't remember if we have it turned on or not. But I think it has that capability. I haven't played with it in a while.
Okay. Well, take a look.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
I don't want to give you false information.
There we go. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Panu? All right. So with that, real quickly, we already had a little bit of discussion. Do we have any recommendations that we've received some recommendations, and one of them involves kind of playing around with some data and everything. We also talked about the form that we can use if there's specific data that we want to ask the department for, and I just really appreciate that we've got a structured process for that. Any other questions or discussion or recommendations? Layla, go ahead.
I would just say, thank you for the presentation, and I think it's one of those things where, you always see I guess it's a story itself, but about, a lot of times we hear about crime in the news and things like that, right? And it sounds like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere, it's all the time, it's terrible. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes that may be true when you look at the data, and sometimes it's not, and we're just kind of hearing what we're hearing, right? And that's what sticks in your mind, those kind of scary sounding stories. So I would just say, I think, it seems like in a lot of ways, that the trends are looking more positive here in Burbank. And I think that that's, from just myself being in Burbank, not probably what, is the impression a lot of people have. And so I would just say it might be a good idea to share some of these data points, just like very simple things, but, it doesn't have to be all the charts and all that for people, but, just maybe some highlights just to let folks know that, there are issues, right? There is retail crime, there is people's cars are getting broken into and stolen, all that kind of stuff. It's happening, but it's not all, doom and gloom. It's, there's some
You're absolutely right. When you think of crime, kind of the aggregate of crime, whether trending up or down, usually I try to focus on what's real, but aside from what's real, even though we're trending down, the part that is often not discussed and I think needs to be highlighted is the perception of crime.
Yeah.
And a lot of it specifically, yes, Burbank is a very relatively safe city when you compare us across the region. But we all experience that perception, based on what we're seeing on the media, based on word of mouth from our adjoining neighbors, or your own feeling and sentiment because someone you may know gets victimized, which then definitely gives us a different level of safety, or feeling of safety, I should say. So yes, and normally, there are certain trends. As an aggregate, we are trending down, but things that we're trying to focus on, what you said, like the organized retail theft crime, the residential burglary associated with South American theft groups, where we are seeing an increase. And that is crime, even though it gets classified as a crime, that you have a component that is not victimless, especially when you as a resident are home. So definitely we highlight those areas when we can.
Appreciate that. Any other comments? Mike, go ahead.
Just going to say, when it comes to perception, if you look at like nextdoor.com, the sky is falling. Because people like to exaggerate online. And things are worse than they really are. Just my comment.
Thank you.
I don't want to put down the people who use that, but I've read nextdoor.com, and I'm like, wow, something really bad happened last night. And I look through our records, I look through our reports, I never find it. So I don't know where where they get that information.
Yeah.
It's in a parallel universe.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, I mean, if you're on the Ring app, supposedly there's gunshots every single night too, so you hear everything.
We're going down the rabbit hole. All right. Mr. Panu, I want to thank you for coming back this evening, and thank you for your presentation.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to item G3, which is the discussion to determine commissioners interested in attending the annual NACOL conference October 26th through 30th, 2025 in Minneapolis. NACOL is the National Association of Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement. It's a group that all of us have memberships in, so we're able to access trainings throughout the year. Plus, we have the opportunity to generally send two commissioners to the conference. So I wanted to open it up. First off, make sure, does anybody have any questions about what NACOL is or what the conference is? We've had Romick, I believe Paul, Mike, you've attended. Has anybody over on my right side attended the conference before? Okay, I know I haven't yet. I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to be very upfront. I actually was able to clear my calendar and get permission from my spouse. I am very interested in going for a couple of different reasons, actually. One, the importance of going, but also this is the conference is taking place in Minneapolis. This is the 5-year anniversary of George Floyd's murder. We're going to be coming up on the 10-year anniversary of the murder of Philander Castile. Both of these incidents were really turned civilian engagement and oversight of law enforcement on its ear, and it's really what led to a lot of us actually getting involved in the commission as well. So there's kind of like an opportunity to kind of like get outside of Burbank, take information in, not just in general information about the conference, but specifically to kind of memorialize some of these incidents that took place. One of the things that I just really appreciate is the fact that this city has been committed to not having incidents like that take place. So it'll be for me, I think it'll be a pretty powerful experience to attend that. So I am interested in going. Are there other folks that are interested in attending this year? Mike?
I will not attend. I've gone twice. I want to give the opportunity to
Okay.
others.
Okay. Romick?
I will only attend if nobody else wants to go.
Okay.
I
Paul?
am very interested.
You have a
because it was
play.
because it was a great experience, but I'll be
Shameless plug. Go ahead.
I will be in rehearsals. I will not be able to attend.
You'll be in rehearsals for what?
For a show that November.
Okay. Anybody over here interested?
When do we have to make the decision by?
So what we're going to do is we have our
That's what I was thinking.
Layla is our outgoing commissioner. We have our incoming commissioner coming in who's not allowed to participate in the conversation this evening, but we'll try to find his interest as well potentially in going. And then what we'll do is we'll make a formal decision in August. But if we can get some of the legwork going now to start to look at the logistics, I think that'll help Sherry and the department out a little bit.
Good.
One of the reasons why I'd be interested in going, and obviously it's not applicable, is they do have a certification for police commissioners. And it involves a certain amount of reading, a certain number of their seminars, but it includes attending two within a 3-year period. So it's been a long time since I think we've had a Burbank Police Commissioner that has actually completed that program, and if someone is interested in it, I think we should help facilitate that.
I appreciate
Is
that.
that the question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is attending the conference the only way to get that certification, or is it?
I think one of the requirements for certification is attending 2 conferences in a 3-year span.
So that's going to be challenging for you because you're going to be in school.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I mean, there are online courses too that you can take. Too.
Those are additional.
Will they?
Okay.
Will that lead to the certificate? I mean, the training is important. The training is invaluable. But to Paul's point, does that support the getting the certification
I mean,
piece?
we can check on that. So I can't.
Okay.
Is there a mandate that so number of commissioners on a given commission have to be certified?
No, it's been a long time since, I'll follow up and bring the exact
Great.
next month.
Thank you. Mike, go ahead.
Anybody can get certified on their own dime.
Okay. And time, because there's the requirement of actually going to the conference. So the good news is that the department and the city is typically supports 2 commissioners going. So if there were more than that interested, we'd have to work with the city and figure that out. Any other questions? Any other folks interested? So I've got myself, Romick is expressing interest. If nobody else.
And possibly our new addition.
Okay. Cool. We'll bug him a little bit about that. All right. Any other questions about the NACOL conference and the planning for that? Okay, we'll bring that back. Actually, let me make sure. August. We're going to need to agendize that for August. I just want to make a note of that to make that decision. Right.
So you have one person interested right now.
We have
That's confirmed.
One person confirmed.
Potentially.
One person if nobody else wants to go.
Okay.
But we have a new commissioner coming on, and we won't be able to make that determination formally until the August meeting. I think informally we might be able to get some direction on that.
Yes.
But formally, we won't be able to make a formal decision until August. How'd I do?
I'd like to.
Great, actually.
Good.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'll check out the dates and
Okay. Excellent. So Ann's a possibility as well. Okay. All right. Anything else related to that? We're good? Okay. Moving on. We're going to move on to item G4, which is general announcements by Chief Quintero. These are brief announcements. They write that in there, so I have to say that. I just want you to know. It's brief announcements regarding upcoming events and or notes, items of note related to the police department. So Chief, welcome.
That will be my intention, a minute or less. Yesterday, Tuesday, 7:15, it was Detective Ryan Alexi who was presented with the Rex Sanders Police Scholar Award by the Noon Rotary Club here in the council chambers. And the Rotary Club began presenting the annual award in the memory of the Rotarian and former police chief Rex Andrews. Then on this Thursday, July 17th, or actually tomorrow, losing track of my days, we will be having one recruit graduating from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Academy. So recruit Zachary Stuthers will be graduating, and then we will have 4 additional people graduating in October and in November. On Saturday, August 2nd, the Cops Bureau will be attending the Boys and Girls Club annual Back to School Fair. And Tuesday, August 5th, I think you guys mentioned it, is National Night Out at Johnny Carson Park. So please, I think the commissioners as well as, I would expect the commissioners, but then hopefully that the community also joins us for this family event. Definitely, I'm excited because it's going to be my first event here. So looking forward to it.
Is there one more event coming up on July 22nd, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, you have one more event on July 22nd. You're doing a meet and greet with the Burbank Human
Meet and greet.
Relations Council.
Meet and
There we
greet.
go.
It was not on my script.
We will
I forgot about it.
talk to somebody about that. So that's going on too. I know that a few of us will be there for that, and I think the message went out to all commissioners. So Mike, thank you for sending that out, and Chief, thank you for participating in that as well.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Excellent. That'll be kind of like the warm up to National Night Out.
That works.
Maybe. Well, that'll work out. All right. Thank you for that. So we're going to go ahead and move on to item H, which is the introduction of agenda items for future meetings. We already have 3 items. We worked really hard on this before to make sure that we were kind of like set for the August meeting because we've got a transition going on with a new commissioner coming in, commissioner stepping out. And we are also mindful of the time frame, keeping in mind that we're trying to hold the meetings to about 2 hours and trying not to roll over that. We're doing really well right now. So we do have 3 items that are identified already for August. It is the election of new officers, which we do every August. It's the preparation for joint meeting with council and to prepare to review the OIR report. We will not have the OIR report at that time, but we can start to talk about how we'll prepare for that. We also have a presentation on the Burbank Police Department's role in interactions at public protests, which is really timely right now. I'm going to go ahead and motion that we add the selection of participants, selection of attendees for the NACOL conference. Can I get a second on that? Romick? All in favor of that? Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, so we've got that one added for August. Let's go ahead and open up from there to see if we have any other agenda items that we want to add for August, which I, again, really want to caution us for the August meeting. So we're really thinking we have a couple of future agendized items. We don't have dates on those yet. We could, I'm just going to throw this out there, because we're going to be bringing a new commissioner in, we could decide to hold off on adding additional items right now until we have the new composition of the council, because we do have an August agenda set, and then we're talking about preparing for September and onward. So I just wanted to throw that out there for commissioners. So if you've got something burning that you really want to add to the to agendize now, we can do that. Otherwise, I just want you to keep that in mind. Paul?
I agree 100%. I think basically we're booked till October at this point. But long-term planning, I know the city charter has a number of police officers per citizens. And I'd like to see how that compares to where we're at. If our population has grown,
Yeah.
in alignment with the officers that have been allotted.
Ray, is that in the city charter? Because I know we've talked about numbers, and it's typically about 1.6 per 1,000 residents, but I don't know, does that?
I'm going to double check. I don't recall seeing that, but
Okay.
if you can give me a few moments.
Okay. Mike?
Didn't we cover that when we did the 2035 plan?
We did in that sense, but specifically what Paul's referring to is that there's a requirement in the city charter around that. Maybe that's something that we can research and bring back to and discuss.
Yeah. That's why I wasn't afraid to put
Perfect.
it long-term.
Okay, so that's long-term. We'll hold on to that right now. That's something that we'll explore. Any other, Ann,
I have
go
a
ahead.
question. I don't know, points of order, et cetera. Do we need to agendize any discussion of any information that the private citizens find out about the setup for a school?
We can report back on that. That can be commissioners reporting out.
Okay,
And then if there's something more significant beyond that, then we can go ahead and agendize that for a full
Okay.
discussion. Good
Thank you.
question, though. Any other agenda items that folks want to formally agendize this evening? Okay, well, with that, and again, Layla, thank you for 4 years of service here. We really appreciate everything that you've brought to us. You've really helped us navigate how we navigate data, and also part of our role is around accountability, and you've really worked with the department closely on that. So I just really appreciate your work on that. We are going to miss you up here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead. Oh, before I forget, we've got the August thing done. Nicola Teddy's got it in there. It was on the page. I remembered it before I got to the second page. Thank you, Sherry. Appreciate that. So our next meeting is going to be Wednesday, August 20th, 2025, right here at 6 p.m. in the City Council chamber. And with that, I adjourn our meeting. Thank you all.